But I think there is a little bit of, look, you like Josh Allen better than me? Fine. You like Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson better than me? Cool. I'm going to go out and ram that opinion down your throat.
It's That Football Show here on KC Sports Network. Tucker Franklin hanging out with Matt Verderame here on a Wednesday edition of That Football Show. Thank you to our partners, Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon. I'm repping the hat today for Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bond Bourbon, and Holiday Distillery as well. Thank you for making this show possible here. It's been a minute since we had a show last Friday, 4th of July spectacular. Also, thank you to everybody who watched on 4th of July. That was pretty cool. That's pretty cool. A lot of people reaching out on the 4th of July saying like, hey, I'm grilling dogs and listening to you guys at the same time. It's like, that's crazy. You're probably outside by yourself, I assume, and because no one else would want to listen to that as well. So you shouldn't subject your 4th of July parties to that. But we do appreciate everyone who hung out with us over their 4th of July holiday, 4th of July parties. Matt, how was your holiday weekend?
It's good. It was good. Weather was a hell of a lot better than it was during that podcast, and got to enjoy some fireworks. Usually, like, they're good around here, but they're kind of chill. And then, like, a guy 3 houses down, so got my pyrotechnic license, and just it was basically like going to New York City on Saturday night. Is you just set off, I think, about $10,000 of fireworks off his raft. I'm pretty sure his raft is now in the bottom of the lake. But it was great. It was great. We had a great time. Cool. Saw friends, burgers, dogs, a lot of beer. It was great. Had some baseball on the TV. It was the All-American weekend for sure. So no complaints. I appreciated that the guy who had his pyrotechnic license also was playing the speech from the movie Independence Day as he was shooting off the finale, just blasting it. And people in the around the lake hammered, 10:30 at night.
Right.
This greatest night of my life, just screaming across the lake. Yeah, it was good. It was good. So how was yours? You enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I didn't have as big and extravagant as a 4th of July as it sounded like you had. I went up to Smithville Lake. My parents like to camp there every 4th of July. We always go up to Smithville Lake, watch them shoot off fireworks from the campground over there. They shoot them off the dam, but good fireworks show. We had nice weather here in Kansas City. It was a very mild 4th of July. I think high 70s, maybe low 80s in terms of it was great. It was great for drinking some beers. I was sitting outside in a lawn chair with my feet propped up on my Mountain Dew cooler, loaded that sucker up with some beers, and I took it out. I don't think that's how Mountain Dew intended it to be, but I loaded it up with some beers and took it out there to the campground and hung out for a while. It was good. It was a good weekend to not do anything. It took this weekend kind of just to chill. And every now and then, it's always good to have lots of plans on weekends, right? It's always fun to be busy over the weekend, I think. Yeah. But then there's some weekends where you're like, man, I really don't want to do anything. And that was what the doctor ordered this weekend for me, was just to kind of chill out. I think I watched a few documentaries, hung out outside as much as I could just to kind of soak in the good weather. But all in all, a good weekend for me on this end.
Good. Yep. Just on vacation, relaxing, going to Cooperstown on Wednesday. The best friend of mine out here, we're going
huge.
We go every year, and he's never been to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I was going to ask, if you're planning on going to the museum.
I've been there many times.
Right, yeah.
He has never been, even as a baseball fan. We just go up there to buy baseball cards and have a beer and eat crap from whatever. Then we go to the Doubleday Cafe. Shout out Doubleday Cafe. It's not crap. It's actually a very good place for lunch. But we just go up there and we go to we just buy overpriced baseball cards. And I'm on the hunt for some nonsense. Some card from 1967. And he's up there, looking for something in the 50s. And we just go there. Cooperstown is actually a beautiful town. If you've never been there, it's on a huge lake. The downtown is really picturesque. It's beautiful. Look, there's a lot of tchotchke crap. Don't get me wrong. That kind of comes with the territory. But it's a nice town. It's a lot of fun. And we're both nerds. We're both into the old school baseball cards. So we'll go there, and then a couple of weeks like the National Sports Collectors Convention in Chicago, where I then basically take a reverse mortgage out on the house and make that happen. So yeah, it's good. It's good. But in the meantime, chilling here in New York and just living the dream.
We did tease on last week's episode. I'm actually curious. I'm actually curious if anyone caught it. No one commented about it. A little peek behind the curtain. We like to do that here on That Football Show. I feel like we're pretty transparent with how this show works.
Maybe overly so, yes.
Yeah, maybe to a fault. Obviously, if you guys watch that show, even listen to last week's show or last Friday's show, you know that there was some weather technical difficulties we ended up getting through. And at one point, there was a couple of edits, right? I think you lost power for like 5 seconds one time. But then, thank goodness I threw to a break when you still had power, because there was one moment after the break where we ended up from basically after the break on was all done in a separate sit down. Like we had to do 2 separate recordings for That Football Show. I think like we did that one like early afternoon, maybe it was like mid-morning.
Yes,
actually
the next one like at night.
Yeah, we did. And then it was after Only Weird Games, I think. We then hopped on and then ended up recording the rest of that podcast. If nobody noticed, that means I did a great job of my job, right? Like that means I did a good job. But I just want people to know that like that's what went into that podcast with everything. And because you were out of power for like what, 3 hours?
Yeah, 3.5 hours. Yep. And it was actually funny. I was walking around the lake and nothing else to do, right? So I'm walking around the lake and I see one of my best friends from high school. And I think his family's got a place, whatever it is, a quarter mile down the street. And he works for NYSEG, which is the New York, the big power company around here.
Yeah.
I'm talking to him. We're chatting it up. I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, we're out of power. Yeah, he tried to call me in. I'm not going in. You got to get power. And as we're having this conversation, the NYSEG truck, one of them, a NYSEG truck, drives by, and these guys roll down the window. And they're like, son of a bitch, we're out here. Yeah, so they had to get a tree off the line or whatever they were doing. But yeah, it came back shortly after that. But yeah, it's funny because, like when we started recording it, the weather was fine. And then it got progressively worse. And then it was apocalyptic briefly. There was so much hail on the highway about 20 miles away from here that they actually had to plow the hail off the highway.
That's insane.
I've never heard of that in my life.
It's July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least that was according to a buddy of mine who works in that field. It was nuts. It was nuts, but we got it done. Kudos to you for splicing it all together. I didn't have to do crap other than show up again. But it was it went off good in the end.
The people also loved your power rankings more than they loved mine on this. That's 2 weeks in a row you got one over on me, and we'll do another power rankings.
I thought
today.
the beer was going to put you over.
I think that's what made it closer. I do agree. A lot of people said I didn't have enough meat on my list, and I totally agree. And I even think actually after we got done, I was like, I think that your list is better. I don't remember if I said that on the podcast or after the podcast, but I did think that you got the better of me on that one with your top 3 on that one. But yeah. Beer was a ploy for the people. Was like, hey, please vote for me. But other than that, that was about it. But we'll have power rankings on this week's episode or today's episode. We'll do Beef and Bozo of the Week on Fridays. We're gonna flip those around. We'll eventually flip how we're gonna how we do the show, obviously, when the season gets here and like training camp comes around and everything like that. But that's a conversation for a later time. You guys are here right now to hear us talk about Patrick Mahomes because, look, Matt, Patrick Mahomes sat down with Kay Adams. This actually took place in Kansas City at a State Farm shoot. And he was gracious enough with his time. A 30-some plus minute interview, if I do remember.
With him on camera, I think Zerl's show was I think 12 minutes, 13 minutes. Okay. But he sat down, gave her some time. I don't want to say actually like it's shocking, but he was pretty interesting. A lot of the times those guys are so guarded, they don't want to say anything that's going to be
for sure.
He actually said a few things that were like fairly noteworthy. So it was an interview. She did a nice job.
I got a clip here that I want to play. 30-second clip. This is kind of like I think this was like the biggest soundbite that kind of came out of it. Us at KC Sports Network, we made a quote graphic about it. I think K Adams even retweeted it from this interview, which has a lot of good stuff in it. This one kind of stuck out the most about just kind of Patrick Mahomes' mindset. I mean, look, they're coming off a historic loss in the Super Bowl where they had a mountain of history in front of them of getting a three-peat and then having it catastrophically fall right in front of them as they started the game. So how does he respond? Kay kind of asked him about here and kind of what their mindset is.
I'm seeing the terms revenge tour. I've actually said that one. I've seen scorched earth. Can you frame what your mentality is so I know how to talk about it?
You know, I'm honestly just ready to play football again. Whenever you lose, you kind of have this taste in your mouth that you want to go out there and revenge that or whatever you want to say. But at the same time, I feel like I've had to sit back and just listen to people talk. And I'm like, let's just play football and just handle it all out there. And I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to go out and show who we are as a Kansas City Chiefs.
You kind of like that if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Matt, thoughts on his quote there?
First of all, yeah, you do. Second of all, I mean, look, we live in a world where more people talk than ever before. And if you've listened to most people in your life, you've probably come to the same conclusion we all have, which is people need to talk less.
Yeah.
People talking generally leads to stupid commentary. Listen, if I was in his position, and of course I'm not, never have been, I would imagine I would feel very similar to the way he kind of outlined. I would feel like, listen, enough of this crap. I don't care what your rankings are, and also too, let's be okay. Mahomes has always in the spotlight been a very humble person. He's always been very much hey, it's a team. I'm a team guy, which I think has been bared out. He is a team guy.
Yeah.
Let's also be honest. In a quiet moment when he's driving down the highway by himself, you don't think he's sitting there going, I'm better than every one of these MFs.
No.
Every single one of them. Of course he is. You know, wait, think Michael Jordan was driving around going, man, thank God I got Luke Longley. Thank God. Because Michael Jordan was driving around going like, I'm going to win this game tonight. That's it. I don't care what it takes. And I think, look, when you're an all-time great athlete, or really at anything in life, you're all-time great at something, you have to have that in you. You have to feel that way. And I think for Mahomes, and I'm not saying that that's what he was saying there, but I think there is a little bit of, look, you like Josh Allen better than me? Fine. You like Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson better than me? Cool. I'm going to go out and ram that opinion down your throat. That's how I feel about it. And I think, you know what, if you also got him in a second honest moment, quiet moment, he'd probably say to you, have you seen what I've been dealing with the last 2 years with this offense? What am I supposed to do here? And I'm not saying he has no fault in it. They have been unbelievably limited, whether it's been injuries or roster. I don't want to say mismanagement, but I guess you could say that in 2023 when the receivers were brutal outside of Rice. I'm sure there's a part of him that's just like, to what he said, let's just go play football and see what happens. Mm-hmm. You don't think I'm better than that guy? Okay. Well, let's see what happens when I play Allen in, I believe it's week 9, Lamar in week 4, Jalen Hurts in week 2.
Yeah. You
don't think we're better than the Chargers? Great. Well, buckle up, strap in for week 1 in Brazil. We'll see what you think. I mean, I think, and that's the mentality they should have. So, yeah, I think if you're a Chiefs fan, that's the answer you want to hear out of him.
Well, here's the thing. If you're a Chiefs fan, too, that answer has been pretty beneficial for you, is just letting that guy go out and play football. Because I cannot imagine, as you've mentioned, having to hear about all of this stuff of this guy's better, this guy's better, this guy's also better, and then just hearing outlandish things all over the place, no matter the sources, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with the lasting image of what we saw from last season. And that's no one's fault, but it happened.
And
he didn't play well.
It was awful that night.
He did not play well, right? There was not a lot of guys wearing red that played well.
On offense. Nobody. There wasn't a single guy other than Worthy in the second half played well offensively that game.
They were white. There wasn't any guys wearing white that played well, I should say.
white, red, purple, whatever it was.
Didn't matter.
Weren't playing well.
They
were not playing well that evening.
And so I think that kind of plays in and feeds into the narrative about like, oh, Patrick Mahomes kind of lost it. I mean, they forget. Like, I think there was a highlight tape tweeted out by the Chiefs department as they're like getting geared up for the training camp of just like some of these throws that you're seeing. You're just like, this is not normal. We've gotten so used to normalizing just like his outlook, his athletic ability, and everything. And I just think that for Patrick Mahomes to say like, all right, like that's fine. Think that. Let's go play football. That's what you want him to say. And as a Chiefs fan, that's what you want him to do because it is proven in the past. What is this? This is going on year 9, right, for Patrick Mahomes, right?
Year 9. He is a starter. Yep.
Year 9 as a starter. The past 8 seasons, that's proven to be pretty beneficial for the Kansas City Chiefs if they just go out and play football. Look, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson haven't beat him in the playoffs. Like, that's a simple fact. I mean, it is.
Well, Lamar's only bothered to get to even play him once.
Great point.
Lamar loses before he plays. I mean, Allen, at least his credit, he gets there.
Remember when he caught his own pass and that was like the top play of the year?
Yes.
That was it won an ESPY for best play.
On a drive that, by the way, they immediately then punted right after that. They went 3 and out. I got to tell you, listen, I'm not the anyways. Great play by him.
Good play. Yeah.
I would argue the most impressive part of that play was Drew Tranquill catching him.
Yeah.
But in any event, yeah. I mean, but that goes to show. Everybody's like, oh, see, I played Lamar again. That game that they scored 10 points in, yeah, it was great. I feel like that's part of this, though. If you're Mahomes, right? Like, again, you're sitting there going, man, I played Josh Allen 4 times when the chips have been down on the table. I have either played him evenly or outplayed him every single time. Yep. And we've won the game. And, I'll go on off a little tangent about this because this always pisses me off. The thing that really grates me is when people are like, well, if Josh just had more talent around them. Well, if Lamar, if this hadn't happened and that hadn't, yeah, great. That's great. You know what? And if I hadn't eaten all those cheeseburgers in college and gone to the gym instead, I might have been in GQ. But guess what? I'm not. And I'm guessing that time's probably passed me by. That's not going to happen. Like, it's just so disingenuous. Like, that's the sport. Well, if Zay Flowers doesn't fumble that ball, that's great. A week prior to that, McCall Hardman did the same damn thing. And they won anyway. On the road. They did it anyway. It didn't matter. That didn't break Mahomes' spirit. They didn't just lose the game. Hey, then don't throw the worst pick anybody's ever seen to Deion Bush in triple coverage. Then don't throw it. And with Allen, look, I'm a fan of Josh Allen. He's a tremendous quarterback. Okay?
Quarterback, yep.
Let's be real. They have had teams that going into those games have roundly been considered deeper, more talented, and they've lost every single time. And I'm not saying that Allen is always the reason they've lost, and oftentimes he hasn't been the reason they've lost. They've lost because their defense hasn't stood up. But the last 2 times those 2 guys have gotten together, the ball has been on Allen's racket. Hey, man, go down and score a touchdown, and you win. And they don't do it. It never happens. And I don't want to hear about, Bass doesn't miss. Bass could have hit that thing right down the middle. They were still losing, okay? Because they didn't hit the shot in the end zone that they should have hit. The year after that, last season, I give Allen all the credit in the world for putting that ball near Kincaid, and Kincaid doesn't make the catch. Fine. Allen was not good in that game. Go back and watch it. I just did like a week ago. He wasn't awful, but he was kind of just a guy in that game. He made one great throw to Mac Hollins for a touchdown. And other than that, it was kind of just like nothing special. And yet you always have to listen to this stuff like, well, if they just had better coaching, if they just had this, the Chiefs won a Super Bowl with Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney as primary weapons. And they won the Super Bowl. And somehow that wasn't the worst offense Mahomes won a Super Bowl with. Like the following year, God was like, let's crank this to 14 and see what happens. Yeah. And they still did it. So I just get worn out with the whole narrative of like, well, is he really as good? And then you get these bozos who are not going to be bozos of the week, but are still bozos. We're like, well, I think this is the most vulnerable they've been. It's like,
right.
what? Have you watched this team the last couple of years? Like, I would argue that they going into the season are better now, 1 through 53, than they've been the last couple of years. Their receiver room's significantly deeper than it's been the last couple of years. And for anyone who's like, well, it's the same as last year. No, it's not, because Worthy played a whole year. Like,
Right.
it's not the same. The running back room is kind of whatever. It could be better if Smith is good, but that's, just a 7th-round pick. Like, fine. Their offensive line is probably going to be better. I don't know that it's going to be like miles better. It could be, but it's probably better. Defensively, that team is stout as hell up front. They've got a billion guys. They're deep as hell at corner. Safety's the one question you have. But, like, this team, to me, is significantly better than the last 2 teams that they've trotted out there. And you have these people like, well, I don't know. Craig Carton's like openly like, I hope they go 3-14. Like, thanks for the objectivity, Craig. Yeah. Everybody's allowed to have their opinion, but it doesn't mean that your opinion is based in reality. I've picked against the Chiefs at times. If it's warranted, I'll pick against them. But this team, to me, is better than they've been. And Mahomes, to rank the guy anything other than 1 is just, to me, to be foolish. Now, you can sit there and say, hey, look, other people can rank him however they want. Yeah, sure. But I don't know, man. That guy, if you put Lamar Jackson in an offense with this running game, those receivers, I'd like to see how that plays out.
Well, that's a good exercise to do because when I was, making my list of top 10 quarterbacks, the lab is doing this where they're ranking their top 10 at every position. We talked about the PFF rankings of top 10s at every position. I was going through that and I think, okay, would Jared Goff still win the Super Bowl? Would the Eagles still win the Super Bowl if they had Jared Goff at quarterback? Okay. Yeah, they probably would. And I think that Hurts's running game plays a lot more into their offense than like Jared Goff would provide. I think it's close. But I gave the tiebreaker to Goff there. But like that exercise, I think is a real fun one to do. And I posed the question to the lab, and this was after, we got done recording. I was like, you got 1 game to win. Say the offense is just a bunch of average Joe Schmoes, league average Joe Schmoes. You have 1 quarterback that you need to win the football game between Justin Herbert and Jaden Daniels. Who you picking? And I think those are fun exercises to do. I want to know your answer, but I think that those exercises are fun.
I think Jaden Daniels.
I would too. I think it's close.
That guy's a winner. Like that guy going into Detroit and lighting them up like a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, call me when Justin Herbert does that in the playoff game. And that's part of this too, right? Like it's not box score analysis is not always a bad thing because there's a reason they keep statistics, but
for sure.
When all your analysis is just based off of this guy's yards per attempt, this guy, it's like, watch the game.
Yeah.
Watch the game. There are some guys that like their numbers are really good, and then you look at the games and you're like, yeah, all right, sure, man, it's fine. I wrote like I actually said this a couple weeks ago on the pod, but Russell Wilson's last year in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
If you statistically look at that year, you're like, yeah, you know what? He played pretty well. Like if you go back and look, and I'll make sure I'm right. I think he had like 26 touchdowns that year. His last season in Denver started 15 games, completed 66.4% of his passes, threw for 3,070 yards, which whatever. 26 touchdown passes and 8 picks. Right, like 4 fourth quarter comebacks, which is the most in the league that year.
Yeah.
If you just looked at that, you'd be like, okay, yards are a little light, but like it's good year.
Good season.
It was atrocious. Anyone who watched that was like, oh my God. Like Denver ate $90 million to get him out of there. They're right. Like, please God, leave. We don't care. Get out. And you had these people like, he went to Pittsburgh. He threw 26 touchdowns, 8 picks. And by the way, ironically, that guy is this year, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone sits there and it's like, if you look at his numbers, that's great. Did you watch the games? Because I did. He was awful for 3 quarters of the season. Awful. Yeah. And it's not like he didn't have guys. He had Garrett Wilson and he had Breece Hall in the backfield and he had Devontae Adams for 2/3 of the year. Like he stunk.
Mm-hmm.
He was atrocious in those games. I just think sometimes people get so beholden. And to be fair, the other side of the coin, Josh Allen statistically last year throwing the football was not unbelievable. He didn't throw 4,000 yards, threw for less yards than Mahomes threw for.
Right.
But if you watched Allen, he was excellent last year.
Right. Yep.
He was excellent. And that's where I think sometimes people just, they cherry pick a number, they cherry pick a stat, or in our line of work, people will watch them. I always call them Twitter quarterbacks. Like people will watch one highlight of Herbert loading up for some bomb and he hits a guy 50 yards down the field. It's an unbelievable throw. And people are, oh my God, look at this. It's like, yeah, it's great. You watch the rest of the game?
Right.
You watch those 9 throws that should have been completed that weren't. And then also, by the way, the last drive of the game when they needed 2 points and they went 4 and out. You watch that? Like, because I watched that. And that big throw, that's great. That doesn't mean anything. They're 0-1. Like, there's just a lot more to it. And, I think if you're Mahomes, you're probably sitting there going, you know what? Let's just do that. Let's just go out and play football, to his point, and let's see how it all shakes.
I think it's a great way to round this whole thing out, because there is just so much with quarterback evaluations, really just evaluations in general, that play into it. And people always just want to be like, well, look at his passing yards here. Look at this advanced number here. Look at this, sabermetric there. They don't call them sabermetrics anymore. But like that is just so tiring and exhausting to talk about advanced numbers, advanced analytics, this box score, this percentage above replacement, whatever it is. Like I don't want to hear about it. I just want to know that like Patrick Mahomes is the best. He goes out and he wins football games. That's what's so important. Patrick Mahomes understands that, and that's his mindset, which I think is perfect.
I mean, look, man, I hate all the analytics stuff for the most part. I'm old school with it. I don't care. I'll call them all. I don't care. I hate all that stuff. What is his completion percentage over expected? It's like, how the hell do you know what's expected? Like what are you talking about? My completion percentage, if I throw 100 balls to DK Metcalf, that completion percentage should be a higher expectation than if I'm throwing those 100 to Sky Moore, right?
There we go. Yep.
So do you factor that in? Do you factor the weather in? Do you factor in if a guy's got his hand up and you've got to adjust the ball at the line of scrimmage? Do you factor in that he's trying to fit it up over a linebacker and under a safety, and if he throws it a little bit low, it's going to get picked, and a little bit high, it's going to be a certain completion? Do you factor in the down and distance? I hate all that stuff. It's just so, and like, I'm not saying there aren't some analytics that certainly have a place in the game, because there are,
sure,
right? There are some analytics I do think have value, but it's like my all-time favorite is with the running backs, like yards over expected. What? Like, based on what exactly? What, the guy wasn't supposed to go down and the big bad 285-pound D end hit him? Like, well, he should have got 3 extra yards. Says who? Says the guy who's what, $160? Like, what, he shouldn't have gone down there? Like, oh well, no, he had a hole there that if he hits it at 20.2 miles per hour, he's going to elude this guy who can bench press a house. Like, okay, great. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for that. That's great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to factor that into my evaluation of this guy later on. Well, he ran for 1,500 yards, but his yards over expectation was a little low for my taste. So, we're going to just let him go loose. It's what do we, like, again, watch the game.
Yeah.
Watch the sport. And I promise you'll know who's good and who's not that good. It's not that hard.
The problem is there's no end-all be-all stat as much as people want there to be. That people want there to be a number for them to be like, oh, this is why I know that this guy's good.
You must not be familiar with WAR in baseball, which is just this all-encompassing. This guy's worth 6.4 wins above report. Great. Well, who's replacing him?
Right.
Who is it? Who's the guy he's replacing?
Right.
It's like, what position does he play? Based off of WAR's calculations of every guy since 1920. How the hell do you have a calculation for a guy from 1928? What, were you watching silent movies of him? Like, what? Where did you get this? Based off some statistic that was getting kept in the dark at Fenway? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Oh, well, this guy's worth this guy. It's like, man, how about if that guy's really good going first to third? Maybe he scores 10 extra runs a year because he's a great base runner.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a million different intangibles that go into this. Maybe the guy rarely hits on a double play, or he's unbelievable about getting a guy home from third with less than 2 outs. But it's like, hold on a minute. Let's boil this whole sport down to see, this guy's only worth 2.3 wins above replacement. So, not a big deal. Then the guy goes out of the lineup and it's like, oh, shit, actually, guess what? He was hitting in the 2-hole and he could hit the all fields. And the guy replacing him is a dead pull hitter and he can't hit the all fields and he sucks. And as it turns out, like he was actually 5 wins better than this bozo because this guy, all he does is roll over on that pitch outside. Instead of hitting a single to right, he's hitting a double play ball to the shortstop. And now your third place hitter, instead of coming up with 1 on and 1 out, is coming up with 2 out and nobody on. Tell me how fucking valuable that guy is now. Stupid, ridiculous bullshit stat.
Now I know how to wind you up. You wind you up by talking about favorite metrics.
It's so dumb. And I'm an A's fan. I grew up as an A's fan.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the dumbest way of it started with finding value that other people didn't see, which is a great idea.
Yeah.
And then that morphed into hey, what if we create value that nobody doesn't see because it's not real? We found this number. It's that's great. That's not a real thing.
It's a great point.
Sorry, it's not a real thing. His UZR rating, great. Did he catch it? I don't give a shit what his range is. Did he catch the ball? I don't know, man. My dad is saying potential's a fancy word for saying you've never done shit. Because if you're good, you don't have potential. You're just good.
Yep. And
I kind of apply that to I don't care that man, this guy's range is sick. If he could just learn how to plant his feet and throw the ball to him, it's that's great. But I'll take the guy who has a foot less range, but can actually throw the baseball to first base. I'll take that guy.
Yeah.
But his WAR's not that high because his arm is velo from short. Bunch of trash.
It is, man. That gets you fired up. I'm excited to know that now.
I get so it drives me nuts.
I'm excited to know that. I can't wait till the advanced metrics say that Patrick Mahomes actually sucks ass comes out this next, because it's going to happen. That's the thing. It's that there's going to be some number where he's last place in and people are going to be oh, Patrick Mahomes isn't good anymore, but some made up number.
I know they're 4-0 and he's thrown for 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns, but if you look at it, it's because Juju Smith-Schuster picked up 20 yards over expectation on a 3rd and 9 slant. It's it wasn't over expectation, champ. The defensive back fell over because it was raining. It's fine. Maybe they called that play because they were trying to get leverage. It's when you talk to these actual the athletes and the coaches in sport, you realize there is so much more going on than anybody could possibly imagine. There was a game, I'll call myself out. There was a game last year. I want to say it was against Atlanta. Chiefs playing the Falcons in week 3, Sunday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, including me, thought Carson Steele blew a protection and Mahomes got lit up.
Yeah.
And I tweeted out not a breakdown necessarily of the play, but just kind of hey, look, if he's going to be in there, he's got to make this block. Otherwise, he can't play. I had a former offensive lineman who played for the Chiefs with Andy Reid reach out to me privately and was I know why you think that, but you're wrong. It was actually, and I won't say it was actually this guy's fault.
Mm.
I was really? If you don't mind, could you explain it to me? Right. No problem. And he walked me through that whole play. There's no one on earth who's not in that offense who could have understood, or maybe who played this sport. Obviously, maybe you're Trent Williams understand it, but
right.
There's no bozo in our industry who's I actually know exactly what happened there. It was, the call was blown. They didn't communicate right. They slid the one way. They should have slid the other way. One guy was supposed to peel off and he didn't. And so Steele actually did his job. The point being, that's why, I put no stock into all this stuff. And people are let me tell you what happened on this play. It's bro, I used to think that too. And then I went in the locker rooms and guys will say stuff that you're what was supposed to happen there?
Yeah.
Actually, and you're man, I don't know anything about this sport. I know nothing. I am. Yeah. So that stuff just grates me to no end. These guys break it down to one number. I look forward to when WAR hits football. This guy is 0.6 wins above replacement. Like, that's great. Great. Thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate the information.
It's going to be good. It's going to be a good day. All right, we got to take a break. On the other side, we're going to do an actual football power ranking next. That's crazy. Big day. Actual football power ranking. Top 5 Chiefs on the roster right now heading into camp. We'll see you on the other side. Chiefs.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to, and I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust, and I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible, and they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN, and that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Matt, not a ton going on in the NFL world. I had a couple quick hitters down, but nothing too crazy. Quarterback season 2 is out. Will you watch it?
I might watch like snippets of it. Like I might watch Goff in the playoff game. It's kind of interesting. You know, I like to watch some of the Burrow stuff.
Yeah.
I just can't get into Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. I just can't do it. And I don't know about you, man, but I get like super uncomfortable when I watch somebody have like a terrible moment in their life. I just can't watch.
It's on
like,
camera. Yeah.
Like whenever Hard Knocks is on, they got to cut some guy. Like I like physically get uncomfortable watching it. I'm like, oh God, like this poor guy's like his life. The only time that doesn't apply is when back in the day when American Idol first started and these people were terrible. I would last saw I couldn't even breathe. You know, like
Simon Cowell was ruthless. You know, he would just lay into him.
Oh yeah, great. I'm like, oh God, these people, they deserve it. But they also put no effort into that, so I never felt bad. But yeah, like I don't need to see Cousins get called into Raheem Morris's office and just be like, listen, Kurt, we've been watching for 4 months and sit down. Like stop.
Yeah.
But Burrow, I'll watch some of that and I'll watch some of the golf stuff. But yeah, it was just so compelling with Mahomes, not because he's sitting here doing Chiefs stuff, but like they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
And he had the injury during the playoffs. Like it was just really like Netflix hit in a home run with that.
Right.
You know, and boy, thank God for that, because otherwise it was Marcus Mariota, who they just stopped filming for the last year. So it's like, he went home anyway. We're good.
They haven't had good luck with Falcons quarterbacks.
No, maybe that's a lesson.
Yeah, maybe let's stay away from the Falcons quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's enough. Hey, let's stay out of that division unless we're going to like Baker or something.
Yeah, Baker would be fun.
Baker would be interesting, but like the rest of you, like, come on, stop, please stop.
Last one I wrote down, Terry Bradshaw blames the Steelers for not building around Kenny Pickett. I don't think that there's a lot of what they need to build in bigger hands.
I was just saying, man.
Kenny Pickett wasn't good.
If
It's also a
the
problem.
Steelers had put Terry Bradshaw's 1970s Steelers team around him, I don't know that it would have mattered. I think.
No.
I respect Terry Bradshaw. He is an underrated quarterback in history. But
I agree with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, people don't realize how great Terry Bradshaw was. He won 4 Super Bowls, and people were like, boy, he was carried. Bro, he was an MVP.
Yeah.
1978, he was MVP of the league. He threw 30 touchdown passes in 1978. He's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Also, like, threw maybe the hardest ball of all time. Like, they actually had to tell him to stop. They literally had to tell him, you need to stop throwing the ball that hard because guys cannot catch the football.
Yeah.
Like, he had to take something off the ball because NFL receivers just couldn't get their hands on fast enough.
That's insane, by the way.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I think the only 2 guys I've ever heard that about are him, Elway, and Favre. They're like, stop. Favre, in his first training camp, shattered some guy's finger.
Right.
Just sort of out route, just shattered his hand. But in any event, look, I respect Terry. That is a take I can't get on board with.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Shout out Terry. Quick sidebar before we do dive into our power rankings. I was thinking about the 2015 Carolina Panthers team for a little bit on Monday, as one does, and
driving around
and just thinking about the Cam Newton Panthers.
Ted Ginn wins that game.
Man, Ted Ginn was bad that year. His Cam Newton's leading wide receivers. I gotta get this off my chest. I shouldn't say wide receivers. Leading receivers. Greg Olsen at 30 years old is his leading receiver.
Devin Funchess.
He was number 3.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Ted Ginn Jr. was number 2 at 30 years old, and Devin Funchess was 33 years old at the time.
Was he really?
He was 33.
He was 33. Wow, they were not good.
Their defense was.
That's the biggest fraudulent team of all time. I remember watching, and they're like 14-0. And I remember saying to something, I'm like, this team that runs the table, this is the worst team I've ever seen. And it's like actually good.
That defense was so good, though. Like that, they had 4
They were really good. And Cam, look, he deserved to win the MVP that year, but I don't know, man. Like, I remember going to that Super Bowl thinking, man, Denver is they're gonna put this team in a blender. Like, they're not gonna score on them. And then Cam didn't dive for the fumble. And I'm like, I can't permanently after that.
That's too bad because Cam Newton is one of those quarterbacks that came up at a very impressionable time for me, right? His Auburn years, him and Jameis Winston are 2 quarterbacks where I'm just like, whoa. Like, those were 2 guys where I was like, I like this sport. And like watching them play college football at Florida State and Auburn, I was just like, I was hooked in. And so they're 2 quarterbacks I'm always going to have a soft spot for. And I think a lot of people with Cam, the Super Bowl is a lasting memory of them. I also think his comeback into the league with the Patriots and then back with the Panthers when it didn't do all that well is also a lasting memory.
One quarterback to watch in his prime.
Yes, and I think that people forget his prime, and they shouldn't because Ted Ginn was targeted 97 times and caught 4 balls that year.
Oh my God, man! Maybe I got to rethink Cam's career. Maybe he does belong in the Hall of Fame.
He had an active terrorist on his team. Ted Ginn was sabotaging Cam Newton's career.
A terrorist. That should be the news. That should be our last and final segment. Just terrorist of the week.
That would actually be our final segment. You're right, because we would not have a show after that.
I don't think we're getting a sponsor for that.
Started by Lockheed Martin. Sorry.
Defense systems.
Okay, let's get into power rankings then. Maybe somebody will sponsor. Right before we get canceled, I make another terrorism joke. Best players. Do you want to do best players? Most important players. How do you want to phrase this?
Who are the 5 best? Not through their careers.
Right.
The
yes.
5
currently.
best players on this team.
Okay. I like that. I'll start.
Go ahead.
Number 5. Rashee Rice. And you might be thinking, whoa. It could be pretty low, or you could be surprised that I got Rashee Rice on the list. I think there's a name on here that people might I don't have on the people might think. But I think Rashee Rice coming back healthy, I feel pretty comfortable putting him at number 5 actually, because he in those first 3 games last season, he was on an insane pace. We talk about it all the time. He was on pace to break the Chiefs' single season receiving record that Tyreek Hill set in 16 games. Like, he was on pace to break that in the same amount of time that Tyreek Hill was. He had an incredible start to the year. I think this year coming in healthy, I feel pretty comfortable putting him at number 5.
Well, you and I are in the same boat. I have him 5-10.
Awesome. Look at that.
5. So
what if our lists are the same?
that'd be hilarious.
Very funny.
It's probably gonna be similar. Look, the guy that I battled in my head was Rice and Trey Smith.
Interesting. Okay.
So I went back and forth. Because man, I love Trey Smith's game, but and like there's also some honorable mention guys like Nick Bolton's not going to make my list.
Right.
Carl Loftus, but yeah, I went with Rice. I just think Rice, man, if that guy's healthy this year, I wouldn't be shocked if he had 1,300 yards and
right.
He's a fantastic, like goes to show how good they are. That guy's barely making the list. Like I don't know, maybe he's in the top 5, but I think he deserves to be, even coming off the injury, he deserves to be.
He's their number 1 wide receiver, and their number 1 wide receiver is the 5th best player on our team, according to us.
Correct.
So that's something. Number 4, I've got Christopher Jones. Chris Jones coming in on the list at number 4. Look, he's the anchor of that defensive line. He is one of those, really, he's a core 4 member of this team. I think Chris Jones could be pretty low for him, but like when you start to flesh this out, I think 4 at Jones makes a lot of sense. I know he's getting a little older. He's over 30 now. I know that plays into it a little bit, but he's still a phenomenal football player. And if not 1, maybe 2, the number 2 defensive tackle in the league.
Yeah, I still think he's the best D tackle in football. I'm going Creed Humphrey at 4.
Okay.
He's the best center in football.
He is.
I don't think it's particularly close now with Ragnow and Kelsey retiring over the last couple of years.
Yep.
He is, other than Mahomes, the most important player on that offense, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And that is a very rare thing to say about a center. Yep. Like, centers are more important than people realize, in a sense. Like, they call all the protections, they slide, all that stuff.
Yes.
I know, I'm preaching to the choir with your history, but centers are extremely important. I would argue that Creed Humphrey, other than Mahomes, the most important player on the team offensively. And I have him at 4 because I have 3 guys that I think come in obviously ahead of him for me.
And we did kind of talk about this a little bit on, what was that, Wednesday or was that Friday show? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was over the weekend, I think.
Yeah, on Friday show we kind of talked about this a little bit of where we have it, and I knew we had a discrepancy.
About terrorism, and then we saw that the NFL Top 100 list was coming out. And just in case anybody missed it, Tua Tagovailoa is ranked higher than Creed Humphrey.
Andrew Van Ginkel is ranked higher than Creed Humphrey.
Who do you have at number 3?
Number 3, I have Trent McDuffie. Very good football player. I think he is the best player on the defense. And I do think that they need to extend him sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Trent McDuffie, number 3.
I have Chris Jones. I have Jones at 3.
Yeah, makes sense.
He's the first ballot Hall of Famer. As you mentioned, he's part of that core 4 with Reed, Kelsey, and Mahomes. I still think even at 32, I still think the guy's capable of having like 12 sacks this year and being just an absolute unblockable monster. And a guy who, like, it's not even like a weekly thing where you're like, well, maybe this week. It's like, no, you're just expecting to just destroy whoever the hell he's going against.
Yeah.
I still, for me, I would make an argument. Is he the best front 4 guy in the NFL? Like there's Myles Garrett. There's all those guys at the peak of their powers. I might argue that he's the most impactful guy in the NFL on a front 4 because of the amount of resources you have to. Like, he's inside. If he beats this guy, it's over.
Yeah.
You can double and chip on the edge. You can slide to him all you want. I mean, how many times you got slid to a double team, just destroyed a double team? Like, that's nice. So I have him at 3. I mean, he's first ballot Hall of Fame stuff.
I think that's a really good point with Chris Jones, and it's better to be a year late than a year early on Chris Jones. Same thing with Kelsey, right? Like, it's a good thing to be that. Number 2 for me, I have Creed Humphrey. I don't think that should surprise anybody. I'm pretty high on Creed Humphrey and his value. Matt, I don't know if you saw this. Somebody responded to my Andrew Van Ginkel tweet when I said Andrew Van Ginkel's better than Creed Humphrey, and this guy said, divination at Chris _Hall21 on Twitter, just so you guys know who he is. Absolutely. Come on, dog. Center is one of the easiest positions in football.
That guy. It's nice to know that he's never watched a football game.
Yeah, so he kind of told on himself there. So Creed Humphrey.
Thanks for chiming in.
Right. Creed Humphrey is my number 2. I think that he's paramount to this offensive line. I think he's paramount to the offense. I think that he is supremely overrated in all things when it comes to the offensive line. His pass pro is absolutely elite for a center. He's the best at what he does. And I just think that cannot be overstated with Creed Humphrey, and they have him locked down for the long term. And obviously the Chiefs feel that same way because they got that deal done early. So Creed Humphrey is number 2 for me.
Not only did they get the deal done, they were like, hey, Creed, listen, we looked at what would be market setting and added $20 million to it. Have a nice day.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, we're not even going to negotiate this. Here you go.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is McDuffie.
Yeah.
Number 2. I really think he's the best corner in the NFL. And that's nothing against Sauce or Surtain, although he's better than Sauce Gardner. But
I agree.
Surtain's an amazing corner, right? And I think there's some other guys who are underrated around the league. AJ Terrell with Atlanta, if he played in a bigger market, that guy's a great corner. There's certainly other guys. I'm sure I'm just completely blanking on like 2 or 3 other guys. You'd be like, that guy's fantastic. McDuffie is the only guy in the NFL that he can play inside and be the best corner in the league inside, and he can play outside, and he can be absolutely dominant outside. I would argue the most impressive game I've ever seen from a corner, considering the stakes, was his game against the Niners in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Dude, it was unbelievable. He could have been the MVP of the game.
Right.
He was running Debo's routes for him. That's before Debo kind of like fell off a cliff here. Like, he was unbelievable in that, to the point that it almost was comical that they even tried to throw at him.
Right.
Like, just stop. Like, if he's on somebody, just stop throwing at that guy. But he's number 2 for me. I think we might have the same number 1. Leo Chenal.
I had Nick Bolton.
Okay. Good.
No, I'm just kidding. Patrick. Yeah, Spags. I have the same number 1. Nick Bolton, give him all the money he wants. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, is the best player on the Chiefs.
I don't know that we have to expound on that. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football. And
yeah, we just did 30 minutes.
I'm sure NFL Network is about to tell us that Shaq Mason's better than him. But
oh my gosh,
I look forward to that. I look forward to like a Texans offensive lineman being ranked above Mahomes. But yeah, like it is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
there is no. If every player in the league became free agent right now, every single team in the league would draft Patrick Mahomes on the line.
Yeah, 1-1 with yes,
all one of them. So he is number 1, not only in the Chiefs but in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I mean it's an easy number 1 pick for Patrick Mahomes. There, we had the same players. We just had them in a different order. And our 1 or our 5 were the same. We just mixed up the middles. So we're on the same page there. I do think that will that'll be good. That'll be a good one. I'm excited to see people get fired up about this one because we left off Kelsey. Kelsey's on the list.
You're not on there. Like it's like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, right. There is a cutoff. Everybody, sorry, right. Not everybody can make it. You know, I tried to find a way to get Justin Ross on that, but we just couldn't do it.
Justin Ross. Excited for Cam.
Breakout year. It's okay.
He will. This is the year, Matt. This is the year.
This is it. Yeah. I hope folks screaming at it. Somebody's gonna be like, what about Justin Simmons? Like, why hasn't player what about Simmons? Like, why Josh Simmons hasn't played down yet, but yeah, he's top 5 player by the end of the year. They're pretty happy with how that paid off for him.
Yeah. All right. I think that's gonna do it. I don't think I have anything else. Matt, do you got anything else before we get out of here?
That's it. I'm good.
All right, we got it all out. That's going to do it for this Wednesday edition of That Football Show. Thank you to Ben Holiday, Bottled and Bourbon Holiday Distillery for making this all possible. For Matt Verderame, I'm Tucker Franklin. We'll see you on Friday.